92.5 KJJY. I am on the phone with comedian Dusty Slay. He's going to be at Hoyt Sherman Place this Friday, November 22nd, on the Night Shift Tour. Tickets and show info available at hoytsherman.org or dustyslay.com. Dusty, I'm excited to welcome you back to Iowa. I actually saw you a while back at the Iowa State Fair. You opened for John Chris, but I was there for you.
Well, thank you for having me. We're having a good time. I'm pumped. I opened for John Chris at the Iowa State Fair, and that was super fun. I appreciate you coming. I got to tell you, though, I was at that fair, and I took a stage, and it was daylight, and while I was on stage, it turned to night, and that really threw me off. I've never had that happen to where I can see the whole crowd, and then suddenly I can't see anybody. It was wild.
Oh, my, that is crazy. That'd be a weird feeling being up there on stage and having literally the day change.
Yeah, and I was in a spot, right? Because I'm a clean comic. I always love to tell people my comedy is relatively clean, but I do comedy for adults, I say this is a show you can come see, bring your grandmother, your aunt, and not be embarrassed that you brought them. But I didn't know how clean John needed me to be. And then I was up there, and I was like, oh, no. I was like, I got jokes, I got some weed jokes here and there, and I was like, I don't know if this is okay. So I found myself in a bit of a spot, but I had a lot of fun.
That's awesome, Dusty. And Dusty, one thing I love about you is your mantra, we're having a good time. And here at KJJY, we play a ton of 90s country music. So, your George Strait, your Alan Jackson, your Reba. And I know you're a big fan of that era of music. Isn't that right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I grew up, I was born in 82. 90s country is where it's at for me. I mean, that's late 80s and 90s country. Yeah, I love that stuff. And I get to do the Grand Ole Opry now, and I run into a lot of these people. I mean, I ran into Reba McEntire at the CMAs one year, and I was going on after her. Thankfully, she was just talking and not singing. But I went on after her, and she came back in the green room like we were best friends. I mean, I was like, man, I don't even know if she knows me, but she came back. She was talking. She was great.
That is so cool, Dusty. I love that. It'd be intimidating, I feel like, to be around artists, that you've looked up to your whole life.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of Jamie Johnson. I listened to Jamie Johnson when I was, in my late 20s, and I met him at the Opry. And I was like, I got to go talk to him. I was real nervous about it. And then I went in, and he's like, hey, I know you. I watched your Netflix special. And I was like, oh, man, that's what I'm talking about.
That's so cool. Yeah, Jamie's great. That debut album he had is excellent. I love that one, Within Color and all that. It's so good. Oh, yeah. Dusty, speaking of 90s country, would you say there's like a song that kind of defines we're having a good time, a country song?
Well, Way Down Yonder on the Chattahoochee is pretty much that, I would think. I mean, if I had to come up with it on the spot, or Daryl Singletary, Too Much Fun.
Yeah.
I think that's a good one. But, I mean, Way Down Yonder on the Chattahoochee, I mean, that just feels like we're having a good time. We're just down on the river. But Too Much Fun, I recently got into Daryl Singletary a little deeper than before, and he's really great. But Too Much Fun is a hot song. I found myself singing that the other day.
We play both those all the time here at KJJY, and I figured you were going to say Chattahoochee. That one, I was like, or maybe Good Time. Alan Jackson literally has a song called Good Time, too.
Yeah, I like that one, but Chattahoochee, it says we're having a good time without saying we're having a good time,
So true. And Dusty, one thing I feel like as a person I connected with you with right away is you and I actually have a lot in common. I actually grew up in a trailer house as well. And that stuff you say in your specials about it, I was like, I felt seen, especially when you said you grew up wearing NASCAR shirts, because I am a huge NASCAR fan too, and that was my childhood.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've not been a NASCAR fan since the 90s, I don't think. I mean, I'm into it. I've been to some races. I think it's fun. But the 90s, I mean, we were all about it. I mean, I wore Alan Kawicki shirts, Kyle Petty shirts. We had I don't think I was allowed to wear Bill Elliott shirts because I think he was Budweiser back in the day. But, not allowed to wear it to school. Hooters was bad enough. But I did get away with wearing a lot of Hooters shirts. I did get in trouble some, I think. But I did get away with wearing a lot of those. Yeah, but 90s racing was great. We used to go to Talladega all the time growing up. And, we didn't have any money, but we had money to spend on a race and T-shirts for everybody in the family.
Well, Dusty, it's funny you mentioned Hooters. I remember flipping through like old NASCAR magazines and seeing like the old Hooters cars and just thinking, man, that car's so cool. It's got Now on it. And I didn't even know what Hooters was yet.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I tried to make a joke about that. My mom used to collect a lot of ceramic owls, and then she was also a fan of Alan Kowicki. And I said she loved owls,
I love it.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Kyle Petty, too. Of course, he had the Mellow Yellow car and then their Hot Wheels one. Oh, yeah.
Mellow Yellow was my favorite because, I liked drinking Mellow Yellow. And Kyle Petty was great. Yeah, and then Days of Thunder came out, and he drove the Mellow Yellow car. So there was a lot of merch out there for that.
Oh, for sure. And you had to swoop it up and wear it proudly.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I had a Kyle Petty shirt that was like Kyle Petty in space. It was like his car was floating in space. And I wore that. I had to do a thing for school. I was in some kind of choral group. I think it was required. I didn't join on my own. But we had to sit, and they asked us to dress nice. And my mom put me in this brand new Kyle Petty in space T-shirt. But they had stars on it, so it looked like paint splotches. It looked like I had been painting in the shirt. And my new Kyle Petty shirt was my nice shirt. They were like, dress nice. So my mom was like, all right, this is a brand new NASCAR shirt.
I love that because I had a Jeff Gordon one that was like, he was my favorite growing up. And it was like his rainbow DuPont car, and it was like it was in the paint booth and it had like this paint can coming down and spraying it. It was so cool. And my cousin borrowed it and I never got it back.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's how it goes. In Alabama, though, I don't know that I knew a single Jeff Gordon fan in Alabama. He was unanimously hated by everyone.
Oh, I know him and Earnhardt. Yeah, they actually liked each other on track. They were like friendly rivals, but not according to the fans back then.
Yeah, my immediate family had no Earnhardt fans either. We were, he was like the real bad guy for us. But my brother-in-law, he came into the picture. He was a big Earnhardt fan. And when I played football 1 year, I was number 3. And so my brother-in-law would come and he would wear his Dale Earnhardt hat.
Oh, I love that, Dusty. Yeah, it's like supporting you and him.
That's right. That's right.
Awesome. Well, Dusty, another thing I admire about you is you're always talking about real life, like your different jobs, like you did in your Netflix specials or on YouTube, all the things I've seen. And this current tour you're on is called Night Shift. So I'm assuming there's probably going to be more of those stories behind your life with jobs and stuff, right?
Yeah, for sure. You know what? I don't know if I have as many job stories in this current hour that I'm doing, but definitely a lot of life experience stuff going on. And, telling some, I got some drinking stories and stuff like that. But, yeah, I mean, a lot of people have said to me they like the hour that I'm doing right now better than my Netflix.
Oh, awesome.
So I'm pumped about it. I don't know if it's, who knows? I don't know if it's better or not. But I really like the jokes that I'm doing right now. And I just announced that I'm going to record a new special in February. So I'm just tightening up this hour. And I'm really pumped about it. I think it's a really good show, so it's going to be super fun.
Oh, awesome, Dusty. I actually just saw that on Facebook before we started talking that you were going to record that. And I was like, man, is that kind of nerve-wracking?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm pretty I want to say I'm tired. It's like when you start, you write a new hour and then you tell it everywhere you go. Mm-hmm. And you get it, it changes a little bit, but you get better as you go along. But then you reach a point where you're like, I kind of don't want to tell these jokes anymore. I'm ready to write new ones. Uh-huh. But if you just write new ones, then your set either just becomes too long or you got to push jokes out. And I'm like, I'm ready to just record them and move on to some new stuff.
Dusty, I, along with everybody, is so excited to see you at Hoyt Sherman Place this Friday, November 22nd on the Night Shift Tour. That's the hour you were talking about. And I think it's going to be awesome. I can't wait to hear some of your new stories. And like you were saying earlier, a Dusty Slay show is a pretty cool thing. You get clean comedy delivered in such a unique way. And I just love your positive style that you live the we're having a good time mantra.
Yeah, I mean, I just want the show to be fun, I always say relatively clean because I don't want someone to show up and then I'm talking about drugs and they go, I thought this was clean. But every time I tell another comic that I'm relatively clean, they go, "You're really clean," because and so it is a clean show, and I like it. I just want people to have fun. I want but I don't really like telling people I'm clean because people think the show's not going to be good. So it's one that if you have adult kids, you can bring them to the show. They're going to love it. And if you're if you want to bring your aunt, your grandmother, they're going to love the show. It's going to be fun. People tell me all the time that they're like, they'll go, "My dad likes your comedy and he hates comedy." So I'm a comedian for people that hate comedy too.
Well, I can confirm my dad likes you and he loves your buddy Nate Bargatze. He has
Yeah.
your specials on repeat in the house, so I love it.
All right. That's awesome. Yeah. And I love Des Moines. I've been to Des Moines a bunch of times. I come to the Funny Bone for years and years. So I'm pumped to be back.
Well, we're excited to welcome you back, Dusty. Again, he'll be at Hoyt Sherman Place on Friday for the night shift tour. Get tickets and show info, hoytsherman.org or dustyslay.com.